Look, everybody, my face is on camera again. Woo! For those of you that don't know, I actually had some dental surgery done, and so of course I wanted to stay off screen for a hot second. So thank you, Joe, for helping out last week while I got while I got a little bit more comfortable with this. But you'll also notice that I sound a little funny, so I'm learning how to talk with how things are working out with this new little bit of a situation, right? Anyways, I don't want to talk about that too much because I do want to talk about, and you've been looking at it, this spot of garbage that has existed in the yard for 6 months, I guess, since the summertime maybe. And the intentions always were, I would show you guys that we were going to, like, this fence was out here. I don't know if y'all remember that. But the fence was all the way out here, and the chickens broke down this whole entire area. And then at the beginning of the fall, we moved the fence line back so that they still have this nice little run here, and they can clean up the actual fence line. There are weed eaters, okay? And then we started building a hugelkultur bed over here that we finished yesterday. Or at least we finished building the bed yesterday. We did that in the first monthly workshop of Hands in the Dirt Garden Club. That is a monthly subscription to not only a private group that I lead, it's also Hands in the Dirt garden workshops each month that are in person with me here locally, either in my backyard, in other community garden backyards, out at the farm in our gardens, and even in some other folks that are participating in the monthly garden clubs gardens as well in the future. In that group, you will also get access to information from me regularly, updates. You will get information on leading with some sort of a monthly garden activity, weekly journaling activities, different types of invitations to special field trips, and a monthly live Q&A where you can have online Zoom face-to-face conversations with me where you can outright ask questions that I will answer right then and there and help you out with. That's $44 subscription monthly, or for the year it costs $444. What we did after yesterday's class was we are putting together a nice video that will be dropped into the group and available for anyone that's in the group, where you can see us building the hugelkultur bed and teaching how we built the hugelkultur bed. So that's available to you even if you weren't able to join in the January Hands in the Dirt Garden Club. So anytime you're ready to join, that garden club is up and running, and it will be actively creating more workshops. I will drop the links in the comments below. But know that the next class will be coming up on February the 20th. So put that down on your calendar if you're interested in getting involved. The next Hands in the Dirt local in-person workshop will be February 20th. And because we will at that point be planting in the ground here in Zone 9, we will do some planting. We will talk about what we are planting, when we are planting, and how we are going to continue working through the spring all the way through May and June as we get prepared for our summers. And whether you want to believe it or not, it will be here in a hot second. So this was a great opportunity to get this going. The next steps on this is we're going to put probably 1 or 2 more bags of raised bed potting soil on top just to cover up some of these scragglies here and really make it nice. We're going to weed eat the edge of this right here really nice and put down a nice layer of heavy duty wood mulch. And then I'm going to begin planting. A lot of what I'm going to plant in this particular bed is going to be very annual and a lot of flower driven. And then I may do down here at this one corner a nice bushing perennial. Like you can see here, I've got a bushing perennial. I've got a bushing perennial. I've got some nice big pieces that stay permanently in a bed. So I'm thinking I'm going to do something like that right there, and then surround it with some nice low-lying herbs, or surround it with some nice annual flowers, zinnias, marigolds, all kinds of pretty stuff like that. I'll probably put some stuff along that fence line over there that I'm not too concerned whether the chickens eat up, because once it gets past this little layer right here, they're going to be able to nibble on and eat. As a matter of fact, over there, they're already nibbling on some of my tomato plants and stuff like that. So I'm not yet quite ready to plant this, but I am going to keep it watered and moist. I'm going to put a few things in, some of the things that I have that are ready, but by the mid-February, this bed will be completely planted. And you may have seen over in my other garden, this is exactly where I was with that second garden area last year at this time. This is the exact same pathway. In fact, let's walk over there real quick before we move on to harvesting.
Ooh.
Okay, so what you just looked at is what this whole garden looked like last year at this same time. So after a year, this is what a hugelkultur bed can look like in your backyard. Even if you just did one bed, one nice bed, one nice little corner over there, you can see how much production can happen. And if you've been watching this on a regular basis throughout the year, you saw how hard it was for me to get this going in the spring, and kind of the first season was a little bit challenging, but here we are now into the second season, and it is just overflowing with growth. There are things, as I mentioned, I seed, I let things reseed, I broadcast seeds from plants. I want to make sure it is just consistently growing with plants. I mean, come and look at this. Look at this little corner over here that I almost had a terrible time growing anything in. And I went ahead and put in a lot of that red salvia Texas sage seed that I talk about a lot. I just threw that stuff out here, and look how beautiful this is. The hummingbirds and the pollinators are going to absolutely love this area. But if you pop down and look in, you can see I do have production. I have dragon's tail radish. I have kale that I'm trimming off of daily. I have broccoli and cauliflower and all kinds of dill, all kinds of things. And up on the fence line over here, I've got sugar snap peas that are starting to come up, and lettuce. And this is nice because in this area right here, I'm getting a little bit more shade, so the lettuce isn't going to bolt as quickly. Okay? All right, Joe, I saw that you had some questions. So,
well, I was curious. You said that when you did this area, it took a while to really get going the way that you wanted to, and I know that between now and when you planted this area, we significantly cut some limbs off of this tree that was over. How much of the success of this garden after it wasn't initially successful had to do with the shade?
Well, the main thing with the shade has to do with winter time. So that was good for the winter time, in that this area of the garden will actually have had the sun that it needed in this time of year. I don't think it necessarily contributed to the actual real success of this garden. Time is what contributed to the real success of this garden. The ability for this garden to settle, and for me to have lots of different types of seeds growing in the garden, and putting in, like this plant got put in spring last year, and February 14th kind of situation. So now it's finally starting to really take off. It's just, you've got to make a long-term commitment, knowing that you're going to get to the point where it's going to be so easy. I have really done very little work in this garden once I got it built, other than just planting plants in it. And whenever I felt like planting a plant in it, I go in and plant a plant in it.
And Francis says, quite a backyard plantation you've got there, Aislynn.
Thank you very much. I'm loving it very much, and it's so beautiful this year, and I've just really appreciated having the opportunity to just keep growing here and figuring it out and learning and showing you guys what can be done in a small urban backyard. Okay, I wanted to talk about harvesting. So some of the things that we've got harvesting, of course, are our radishes. And I've got all of these beautiful dragon's tail radishes. These are all things that are harvesting as well this season.
Show me.
So here you go. Like, here's some that are kind of still young and purple. And then here's some, and they're going to be a little spicier the bigger they get. So now I've got all of these that I'm taking off as well.
You say radish. I'm used to radishes growing in the ground.
That's right. These are like a bean radish. So the edible part ends up in these dragon tails, which, by the way, I do have these available in my Aislynn's Overflow of Abundance online farm stand today. So if you're interested in getting yourself some.
You're cutting these off the plant and you're selling them today.
That's correct.
Where do they go?
Where do they go in?
To find that?
Aislynn's online farm stand. No, that's not what it is. Aislynn's Overflow of Abundance.
That's a Facebook group.
But it is an online farm stand. Yes, it's a Facebook group.
Now, what would I do with this? What would I do with it?
These are great for salads, particularly the younger ones. And the bigger ones are going to be great for that stir fry we're going to make tonight. The yakisoba beef stir fry is what we're making for dinner tonight. We're going to be using broccoli, We're going to be using some grass-fed beef. We're going to be using some local carrots. The broccoli, of course, is coming out of our particular gardens and stuff like that. So there you go. You can see me harvesting all of these good things here. And these plants are super easy to grow and make lots of these beautiful beans that you can use for all kinds of good stuff. Now, other things that we're growing. And of course, you can always harvest leaves. These leaves of this radish have stayed in really good condition. The flea beetles aren't eating them. This is similar to a mustard green. Now I've got celery that's starting to really go, but I'm not harvesting that yet from that. But on these beets and Swiss chard and things like this is all great stuff to put in a salad. These young leaves like this, great for a salad or stir fry or whatever you want to cook.
The celery, of course, makes celery stalk, but I think last year you took the leaves and made a ton of celery powder dried.
Yes.
Are you going to be doing that again?
And when if I get enough celery this year,
Because
celery this
that
is my first
really
year.
helped us cook.
This is my first year to grow celery from seed, so I'm still learning from it. That's one of the things with me is that I learn with my hands in the dirt. If I'm not doing it myself, then I'm not prepared to teach it yet, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's see, what else do I have that I'm harvesting over here? Peas. On this fence line over here, I've got snow peas. So I'm starting to just pull these off right now. I didn't plant these until it started to get really cool. Put them in the ground, and now that's when they'll really start putting on their flowers and producing lots of peas. So if you put peas in early and they're not producing, it's because they were too hot still, and they're finally going to start producing. I wait till the last minute to plant my peas in order to have the best products, the best peas available to me. Plus, in this timing of the year, before the March humidity starts to set in, this is the best time of year to have these plants out here and producing before that powdery mildew starts to set in, particularly if you're in the zone 9B area, which is the closer to the bay part of us.
Sid says celery powder and then has stars in her eyes.
Oh, it's so freaking good. I need to get better at growing celery so I can do a lot more celery powder. Of course, these little leaves here are probably from a beet, maybe Swiss chard, but either way, when they're young like this, they're really good for salads. But once they get, and I've got some over in the other garden, once they get bigger, they're more of your hardy, like winter green. But when they're small, they're real nice and soft for a nice little mix into your salad. Also, I'm going to have a lot of the salad mix available in my overflow.
And you cut a few leaves off and eat them,
Yeah.
but then many will grow back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, I just kind of like to trim things up. That's part of it. Is just kind of piddling around in the garden, just kind of trimming and cleaning things up.
What is this?
That is actually just that Texas salvia.
Mm-hmm.
That's reseeding. That's covering my ground. Now I'm having a hard time covering this part of the ground because I have little kittens that try to live in my backyard. They keep digging everything up, and squirrels keep trying to plant pecans. And for whatever reason, this particular area has been one of their areas.
It's a hot spot. It's a nightclub.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Got some tomatoes. I think these little tomatoes right here must have got hit by a frost, because you can see right here on the edge of a lot of these tomatoes at the top.
Hold on,
But
let me focus nice. There we go.
so you can see right here on the top, there's a little bit of burnt edges, but that's okay. They're still working out. These are just paste tomatoes anyways, so they're great for cooking. Once I get a little bit of orange or red on a tomato, especially when I'm keeping up, like I don't have too many, I just have a few, then the best answer for me is to take these inside right now so the birds don't eat them, and put them in a brown paper bag with some other ripening tomatoes, and then they'll ripen a little bit faster. So as long as they have, I mean, even see how green that one is down there? Can you see that?
I can get in there.
It has a little bit of orange to it, a little bit of yellow. That one will turn. The ones that are super hard and really, really green like this one will not turn yet. So, Sandy, since you're on there today, whoop, have a moment.
Yeah.
Showing your age, stumbling around over there, Joey.
Showing my desire to not step on your plants.
Thank you. Good job. Okay, Sandy, while you're on there, yesterday we were talking about the different types of heirloom tomatoes. I'm not 100% sure because I lost my label on this one, but I'm pretty certain that this is an Amish paste tomato. And so you can see, I mean, they actually will get bigger than this. They get maybe even twice this big, but it's a nice paste tomato, and Amish paste. There's a couple different companies that sell it, but for sure that Southern Exchange company, that's who I've been buying this particular seed from, and I really like what they do with it. And I'll make sure to send you some back because you sent over some seeds for the seed swap. I'll send you some of those Amish paste tomato seeds. Okay, cool.
Will you have a seed swap on February 20th?
I'm gonna have a seed swap in March. My next seed swap, plant swap, will be in March, so get ready. Okay. Okay, let's see. I'm not really harvesting the whole head of this stuff yet, but this stuff is so beautiful and delicious. If I'm making any type of salad or mixed green of any kind, look at the beauty of that. Look at the colors we can throw into our mixes and stuff like that. Okay? And that's a Chinese cabbage, a nice salty leaf. Now look, my nasturtium over here, these flowers are edible, these leaves are edible. I will throw these leaves into a salad mix as well. And then look up here. Oh, I'm so excited. I have these heading lettuces. Look at that. I have a head of lettuce. That's a little gem. I actually think this one probably is ready.
You gonna pull that whole thing out?
I'm going to, okay, I don't pull them out. Remember, I don't cut the roots. I cut the ball all the way down to the bottom.
Hold on a second.
Can you see it?
Let me get a good shot. There you go.
I cut it out like that and I leave it. Now, if I wanted to plant something else, I would pull back beside that and plant it right in here. And I probably will do that today, as a matter of
You've
fact.
discussed why you leave the roots in there, but tell me again.
Well, because the roots create structure in the soil, especially when you're talking about a hugelkultur bed. But in addition to that, there also is a lot of life growing down around those roots. That plant has created life around it. It's pulling in nutrients. It's pulling in, there's fungi, there's earthworms, there's all kinds of stuff going on around that root base of that plant. So just leave that root base in there for as long as you can. Let's put it that way. So these are little gem. This is, let's see, bib lettuce, little gem. G, like, not like J-I-M, like G-E-M, gem. And I think there's another one over here. Look at this lettuce, y'all. Yeah, I'm definitely going to cut this one off because you can see this one looks like it's already starting to try to bolt. So it's pushing out of the bud.
The most critical question for me is, will I be eating this, or is this going on for sale as well?
Both. You can, either one.
You leave the roots behind.
Oh, look at it. It's beautiful. This is the bouquet. If I ever get married again, this is the kind of bouquet I'm going to have.
And if we ever get married, I'll put that as my boutonniere.
Oh, very nice.
The whole thing.
Look, all of these pretty leaves you can trim off. Swiss chard or beet greens, whatever it is.
I love how on these videos, if you're listening every week, you might hear us talking about getting married again someday.
Maybe.
Probably
Who
not.
knows? Probably not. If you listen to the podcast, you get to hear, and I know Sandy is listening to the podcast and she's kind of back. So she might actually hear us saying we're going to get married, and then a whole year goes by and we still don't get married again.
It's also interesting to the amateur gardener, Jody says. You also, hey, you know what? It's worth saying that we spent some valuable time yesterday reorganizing all of this.
Yeah, for those of you that watch regularly, you definitely have seen that our yard gets trashed from time to, pretty much all the time, actually. It gets cleaned from time to time.
Jenny loves your bouquet. Here's a bouquet,
I
too.
love Jenny. Jenny, I'm so glad you came to the seed swap yesterday. I was so glad to see your face. Okay, here we go. We're going to do the same thing. Now, this one I did talk about in the seed swap yesterday because one of my friend growers had grown some massive cauliflower heads, and then she had noticed that, like, all the growth underneath it, and she's like, well, you always say plant abundantly, but what this is blocking it out. And I said, you can harvest these leaves, okay? So I was harvesting these leaves and using them, eating them, putting them into what I call a winter green mix, which you can still get in my Overflow online farm stand. But the way I handle it when I cut these leaves off, even if I throw them to the chickens, it doesn't matter. That actually helps to keep sunlight and stuff and not too much pill bugs. We talked about decomposing pill bugs in there, all of that. What do you think? Stink bug. Okay, I'm going to cut this one off.
Hold up.
Same thing, down here.
You're down as close to the dirt as possible.
Yep.
Can I call that we eat that one? Or are you selling this guy?
No, we're eating this one.
Uh-huh. That's going to go into a stir fry tonight.
Look at this bouquet. Da, 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 da. Oh, that's the president. I'm going to... How what'd you think about that? I tried mayor. Maybe I should go for governor. All right, here we go.
I'm gonna be quiet.
Just like, no, that's just more work for me. So this just opens this up here, more sunlight for things that are growing down there. I may go back and put something in, but it kind of looks like I've got some stuff. Look, that celery's gonna get some better sunlight now. And of course I can trim up all this dill and use any of the dill that I want to use.
I think Joanne was reacting to you talking about that wintergreen and the cauliflower. She says, so that's what I'm eating. All the variety of leaves, greens I have got from you have been delicious.
Oh, perfect.
Thanks for sharing your abundance.
Oh, thank you so much. So that's what these are. I mean, we're broccoli leaves, cabbage leaves, all this pretty stuff out here. I just go in and trim the leaves. Get out of my bucket.
It really is.
Get out of my bucket.
You know, I've been behind the camera for this, doing it for a year. There are times of the year when there is so much more abundance, I guess, because of seasonality and everything else. But
this is going in our yakisoba tonight. This is my broccoli rabe. This is a green sprout. No, this is a broccolini. And there's a head, and yeah, some of it'll start to bolt like that.
I throw the flowers into the. I mean,
yeah, totally.
I don't
it doesn't
cut
even
those
matter.
flowers off. We eat them.
Yep, yeah. Exactly. And so all these leaves are so good for pizza. And actually, broccoli rabe is, in my opinion, broccoli rapini is a better option for pizza than the head of broccoli and the broccoli florets. This particular style of broccoli, which is a little different than traditional broccoli, is just thinner, smaller, and just a little bit spicier, and it's so good on pizza. It's my favorite.
In this week, the one that came out last Monday, we did another grain-free crust. It was our first time to eat in the house a homemade cauliflower crust.
We talk about that on the podcast, dinnertabletalks.com. If you're not listening already, you should totally be listening. We're enjoying it, and we're thinking about putting out a cookbook, so man, I'm talking to Sandy all day today, aren't I?
Well, Sandy also just asked, should you eat bolting broccoli?
Yes, totally. Eat bolting broccoli. No problem at all. I mean, I prefer it not to go to bolt, but it doesn't matter. If it does go to bolt, it's an edible flower, no big deal. Let's see, what else do I have going on over here?
Eat it till it doesn't taste good.
Eat anything until it doesn't taste good. Lettuce bolted doesn't taste good. Cilantro bolted becomes completely different. It doesn't have that same, like, shocking flavor. But a lot of things you can still eat when they bolt. So just keep, arugula is a great example. You can eat the heck out of arugula when it's bolted. Let's see. I'm so excited about this because I did figure out last week that this is a poppy. And poppies are gorgeous, y'all. I cannot wait until my poppies start to take off. So, and then I'm really happy about, look at these pretty little, I've got lots of good stuff that I'm harvesting out here. So I think, oh, look at these dragon tails. Oh my God, look at those. Now you can see why they call them a dragon's tail, right? Okay, that's pretty much all I have for this week. And it was just a really great week. We've got tons of stuff harvesting. We've got broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, lettuce, all the greens, all the winter greens, all the amazing radishes, those beautiful watermelon radishes, those beautiful purple Bravo kaleidoscope radishes, all that good stuff is starting to harvest. And you're going to find it on my online farm stand, but you're also going to find it at all of the great farmers markets in town from all of my friend farmers all around town. So definitely, this is the time of year that you are going to see the most variety and abundance coming out of your local gardens.
Is it too late to get started? Jody talked about amateur gardener a little earlier. She made a little comment. What do you do today? I'm inspired. I don't have a garden. What do I do today?
You plant a pot and you start putting mulch down on top of an area you might decide to grow in later on. You plant anything you want in any pot. Like, that's it.
Go buy some pots. Go buy some potting mix.
You could do herbs. You could do, yes, raised bed potting, soil potting mix. And then you put a little bit of fertilizer, organic fertilizer in there, whatever. A little bit of Epsom salt I like to put in there as well. And then you pretty much herbs. I wouldn't do much more of the greens at this point. If you're a newbie at it, I would wait until February the 14th, and then I'd start doing my peppers and my tomatoes and my eggplants and green beans.
So maybe one could work ahead to a February 14th-ish date, get the pots, get the soil, and then on the February 14th plant, you just said, I'm sorry?
Tomatoes, eggplants, cucumbers, peppers, squash, beans, all of that. But I'm teaching a lot of this stuff in a lot of my online workshops, in my Hands in the Dirt Garden Club, which is just a $44 a month subscription to all of the deepest information that you can get from me. And you can ask me all of the questions, and I'm face-to-face going to help you get those answers to those questions. Okay, I'm all like, I just wait. What's going on? Hey, all right, cool.
Are we done?
I think we're done. I just want to make sure I remind you guys all to check out dinnertabletalks.com. We launch the episode tomorrow morning. Every Monday we launch the episode. And please go and check out my Aislynn's Overflow of Abundance online farm stand form
can I
that
tell
got
them
launched
one thing
today.
one thing that we talk about tomorrow, and tomorrow's a new podcast?
Sure.
We find ourselves not at the dinner table as often as A, we used to be, B, we'd like to be.
Yeah, I think that's a great conversation. Oh my God. They don't want to look at my ugly long toes and my toenails.
I'm not quite.